Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're ready for Assassin's Creed Infinity. Because I really hope it doesn't end up like that, and there is a distinct chance, I think, that it could. Even though I think there's a really good argument for what they could be doing with this new direction for the Assassin's Creed franchise, but it's Ubisoft, and the one thing we have consistently caught them trying to do, because they can be sneaky wee bastards over there, is just trying to, slip in a little bit of live service. Whoop, there it is. Hey, what's that? You want an XP boost in your single-player game? Oh, there you go. Because that's the Ubisoft that we pay. So, here's basically the overall situation. And this broke in an interesting way. We'll go with Chris Scullion of VGC's article. There's also Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, where basically Jason reported that there is a new Assassin's Creed project called Assassin's Creed Infinity. So we've got Halo Infinite, Assassin's Creed Infinite. This is great. These games we like, they're never going to end, apparently. But basically, what you got to understand here is that they want a big Assassin's Creed platform. And that will be a platform that will span multiple time periods and could expand to even more time periods over time. And that it would represent them abandoning the TikTok development cycle that they had, where between Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Quebec, one would lead one game, the other would lead the other game, they kind of leapfrog on each other, kind of like the old Call of Duty model, actually, in terms of development. But while this is a number of years away from actually being released, that's basically what they want to do. They want one big Assassin's Creed project that both of the big Assassin's Creed lead teams are working on concurrently. And the big thing, of course, is that this is all evolving live service. And we know what we think about that. Now, there is another angle to this, of course. We all remember Ubisoft's various, be it of a sexual nature in terms of harassment or just, regular workplace bullying. There was just a number of key people at Ubisoft who, were problem people. Now, according to Jason Schreier's reporting, a bunch of people who had allegations or sort of issues against them are actually still in place and working here. Now, the thing is that Ubisoft actually got back to him. And they said that any employee that had allegations that still remains at Ubisoft, that's because their case was reviewed by a third party and they were exonerated. So that's Ubisoft's stance. I think, I think Jason Schreier obviously doesn't particularly believe that. To be honest, we don't exactly have the information there of who to believe or what is going on or the full situation. But that said, just because an external third party did a review, if that's a third party hired by the main company, what are their incentives going to be? What's actually going on? Do you have weird settlements, things like that? Stuff where it's covered by NDAs that basically we don't know unless somebody blows a whistle. So that thing basically, legitimately, do be worried about that, think about that, but I don't want to say just place it in a box because that's kind of just dismissing and downplaying it, but it's a sort of thing. Perhaps if there was more here, Jason will be able to dig it up, or someone else will be able to dig it up, and we can, we'll actually be able to know a little bit more. Now, to this whole story, Ubisoft have actually responded, and they basically just said that they want a collaborative cross-studio thing, instead of just TikToking between their different studios. And that passing of the baton, as they say here. And they want to evolve in a more integrated and collaborative manner that is less centered in studios and more focused on talent and leadership. And then they do their, regular disclaimer that's on every Assassin's Creed game about, multicultural, etc. Development team. So basically, they're going to do something called Assassin's Creed Infinity. And the whole point is it's a big live service Assassin's Creed. Now, what are the pros here potentially? Well, the pros are that they build, one big set of nice core technologies, and that then they can really just focus on pumping out the content. So that could mean more content, more characters, more settings. Now, I'm someone who loves history and historical settings, so to me, that would be a really, really exciting prospect. And if you had have told me something like this was going on in the Ezio era, I maybe would have had a different opinion. Now, I don't mean like the historical setting where Ezio is a character. I mean that era of this game being made, because over time, Assassin's Creed has certainly went in an interesting direction. That's something we'll get into. But for me, the main thing that I'm worried about is if they're tying all of these games together into one big platform and one big service, what are the additional avenues of monetization that Ubisoft can do? And will those make you feel bad? Because we all know in Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it was initially balanced in quite a grindy fashion that really made you want to spend that 10 or 15 bucks on the XP and, or depending what bundle you got, the gold bonus. And those are like major bonuses that seriously impacted the gameplay experience. And almost everyone said that it was a better, that just felt better paced with the boost. And of course, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I got interested in that because it was going to Ireland. I sort of thought, oh, cool, I could go near my house. But looking at that game store, it also has got boosts, it's got loads of things there, and it's totally a case of Ubisoft trying to sell you a full-price game and then basically put in a bit of a weird free-to-play cash shop inside them. And I just feel that if they are doubling down on this new way of doing things, well, it'll mean more of that. And also, I think there have been degradations in storytelling quality, as I think they have went from thematic basically I just think that as they've become more gameplay oriented in terms of the RPG combat mechanics and some aspects of progression, that they've generally deteriorated in the quality of their storytelling. I mean, I certainly felt that in and around the start of Valhalla, where, instead of playing through this character's story, I literally was doing that in the way that you would have done with Ezio, as your character I think many of us remember. I was quite quickly spat out into a big Ubisoft open world map full of, the objective icons and the markers and stuff. And that is something that had been in the Assassin's Creed games for a pretty long time. But for whatever reason, it didn't mesh with me with the newer games. It felt a bit too bloaty. It felt a bit too much like the bad side of those things as applied in Ubisoft games. So, that's roughly what's going on with the Assassin's Creed franchise. Not sure if I like it.
Yeah, I've never played much of the Assassin's Creed series past playing 1 and going, this was fine. I was okay with it. Grand. It was a fun game. I didn't get all the feathers, but it was close enough. Or the feathers, whatever they were, the Templar things. But then it kind of bounced off the rest of the series. But that means I'm going to come at this from a different angle, where if they're designing this as a platform, that means there's almost 2 ways they can actually go forward, right? Number 1, which I'm going to call the good timeline, is that this is them going, well, every time we want to explore something, like thematically, or explore a period in time, we have to go and make a game for 2 years. We have to go and build a game from, not the ground up, but, we have to take another stab at it. We have to rethink mechanics, redesign stuff like that, and generally build this massive game that everyone wants to play. But then, you see what they did with the expansion to Ireland in Wrath of the Druids, where they just kind of go, okay, we'll do Ireland in a smaller capacity, but it's still linked to Valhalla, which kind of grounds it all in this one era. They can't go too mental, but with Assassin's Creed Infinity, what they can ostensibly do is almost World of Warcraft, where they can go, here's the base, here is Assassin's Creed Infinity. We'll focus it around the modern kind of stuff, all of the animus, whatever it's called, that actually, makes that story progression make sense, and all the time traveling stuff makes sense. And then they can just go mental. They can go, oh, right, we're going back to Egypt for a bit. We're going back to Ireland for a bit. We're going up to the Viking land again for maybe a different time frame from Valhalla. Something like that, further in the past. They can just go everywhere and have complete freedom in what they actually want to do. Is this going to be a 40-hour experience over here? Is this going to be like they were talking about with how they want to frame story sizes, they'll be more free to make an 8-hour experience over here and just slap that on top of Infinity as DLC, or something. It wouldn't be DLC, it would be something more platform-esque, how it would be framed. But it would basically just mean they don't have to spend a load of time remaking Assassin's Creed every year or two. They can actually just build and build and build and build and build like an MMO in a way. And that's the good timeline, where I think that's a really neat idea. And if they can build that correctly, which it seems to be their plan. Yeah. Like Jason Schreier's saying, he's said at least 3 years out, I think.
Yeah.
So that implies that they are giving this the full go, which is really interesting. But they are Ubisoft. They are a company, and they do exist in the modern time, which means I am more afraid that they're looking at Roblox and going, can we have Assassin's Creed Roblox, please? Which is this, to be fair, Roblox seems to be a good experience for the people who play it, for like the whatever children, or I don't even know if adults generally play that content-wise. I don't know.
I mean, I think less Roblox for me because it's very much user-created content. Yeah. I think it's more just like, if you're to take the inspiration there, it's like, oh yeah, platform, we then pump it full of content. Yeah.
So it's like more the case of it's a platform where there's loads and loads of content, but heavily monetizable.
Yeah.
As opposed to, here's a way to deliver loads of games. It could be more, we need our modern version, we need our core gamer version of Roblox, or to an extent some of how Minecraft kind of got away, but that they're basically, I'm afraid they're jumping on the metaverse bandwagon. With like, we need a metaverse. Some of the top like metaverse.
Like, I can see that at a surface level. I guess the bit where I have an issue with that is like, all that metaverse content is driven by user-created stuff, because they're basically making platforms that they can employ and then pay users at a terrible rate. It's pretty damn hard to make money in Roblox, from what I understand. But a lot of people are making Roblox content just as a hobby, so you basically make money from all these hobbyists, and that's a core part of their model. Whereas with this, I think it is more just selling people on this big, long Assassin's Creed vision that is going to allow them to put way more monetizable mechanics in. Now, at this stage, it's very hard to see what those could actually be, but we know that they've basically purposefully unbalanced their own games to then sell you a balance patch, because that's what the XP and gold stuff is. And they've done just a number of things like that, which is sad because they've also done some pretty cool things. Like, some of their DLCs have been pretty cool of the more recent Assassin's Creeds, but I just really worry about what this represents. It's hard to say exactly what it could be. It's just so far away, but core is, I don't trust Ubisoft because I don't trust them not to mess it up. I mean, I look at some of the newer just design decisions and stuff, some of the newer Assassin's Creeds, and you're like, it feels like external factors have messed up with this game design a bit. And then for me, the other issue is the more that they have went here, it's, like their CEO talked about, they don't do 12-hour games. They'll do a 12-hour experience and a 100-hour game. But I've really felt like that has been at the massive detriment of the quality of the 12-hour experience. Because they do generally feel less tightly crafted in terms of just their flow, their pacing, all of that stuff. And that is essentially my worry here, that it will be Assassin's Creed becoming more of a generic live service. And that's just kind of worrying to me. I mean, if I found out that this is intended to be free-to-play or something, then I'd be terrified for what that would mean. I doubt it will be free-to-play, but that's mainly just the situation here. I think this is Ubisoft taking their next leap into what a single-player live service looks like. We don't know what that leap is literally going to be yet, but it'll be very interesting to find out, because it will reveal to us their thinking, and I think if you look at the more recent releases, to get an inkling as to what their thinking is.
Yeah, they're going to build this platform just so they can, they can use the excuse that it's a platform to monetize it heavier, with likely less content. Because, if you have to make a 100-hour game to sell your $20 expansion, what if you don't bother making the 100-hour game in the first place? Or you make the 100-hour game once, and then you sell a whole bunch of $20 expansions?
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe you try to do all of this to get the Uplay subscription. Maybe it's a big play for that.
Of course. It almost... Well, given that it's 3 years away, probably would line up with them trying to push that a little further. I was going to say it doesn't seem like they're pushing it super hard at the minute, but I mean, it could be them, they're just way behind the curve and going, right, we'll actually plan out how we'll attack Uplay, because we have to beat, probably have to... Well, I'd say they probably have to rebrand to defeat EA Play, but at this point, everything's Play, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's basically what's up. There's not too much else to get into other than this could be good. It could be quite bad. We don't know. Pay attention to it, though, because, look, this is live servicifying a single-player game. If they find success here, we'll probably see other companies try to do it as well.
Throw back the gates to every game you loved is now a platform.
Oh, dear. I hope that doesn't happen. I do hope it ends up well, because, look, if you could tell me that I can get Assassin's Creed where, I'm in Rome 1 minute, and the next thing I can go to China, I'll be like, damn, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So there is a great promise here. I'm just worried they've eroded my trust as a consumer because of what happens whenever I log into their games and I see store bullshit. That's what they've done. So, there you go.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, that's it for Assassin's Creed.